I'm traveling on literally the fastest train on this earth, from Beijing to Tianjin, a city known for its Western influence. Join me on this journey. I'm Michelle Lee.
The train, the CRH-3, is also China's first self-designed and self-manufactured passenger train. And from what used to be a 70-minute train ride between Beijing and Tianjin, it now only takes 30 minutes for the 115-kilometer journey. Half the time, twice the fun.
And I've arrived in Tianjin City! That was probably the quickest journey I've ever taken. But now it's time to explore. Onwards!
Being the third largest city in China can't be easy, especially when you have to compete with the likes of older siblings Beijing and Shanghai. But Tianjin holds her ground well. The coastal city, washed by the Bohai Sea, was once the most convenient access point to China's capital from overseas. Its unique geographical location determined Tianjin's fate as a hotbed of cultural and imperialist clashes. Now, I've read a fair bit about the city being an open museum, with its rich legacies of the different societies that once laid claim to its port. And on my way there, I'm charged with curiosity, wondering how accurate the picture I'd painted of the city in my mind's eye from the various historical snippets I'd read was.
There are many historical buildings in different architectural styles spread across Tianjin, but some of the most spectacular aren't even on the tourist map. So if you really are curious, you should take a run around the city and, well, step into a bank, for example.
Tianjin was one of the earliest cities in China to open up to foreign businesses after the Opium War. After the Chinese were defeated, the Western powers built concessions in Tianjin and Shanghai. 100 years later, there are no more foreign residents in this area, but the buildings still stand as witnesses to the tremendous changes over time. The old Western-style buildings spread across the city tend to throw me a little. It's almost as if I'm in China at moments and then transported to different parts of Europe all in one day. Banks, steam engines, cement, modern science. 150 years ago, the Tianjin locals were shocked by the advances coming from the outside world.
Wow.
At the same time, they were quick to realize that they had to keep up with the rest of the world.
Some of the historic buildings are still being used in the same way they were in the past. This, for example, was once a British college, and it's now being used as a Chinese school. It's so wonderful, like just amazing Grecian architecture, which is strange because it was a British school, but it's still really, really wonderful to see.
While watching these young Chinese students playing basketball, I can almost imagine the Victorian period students on the same field, enjoying a different sport perhaps, but showing the same enthusiasm. While European-style buildings are spread across the city, you'll find most of them in the 5 major road area, known in Chinese as Wudadao. This area attracts tourists, avid photographers, and people interested in old architecture. horse carriage rides that are available in Wudadao are the means of transport best suited to the surroundings. The clip-clop of the horses' hooves and the winter sunshine through the plane trees take me away from the heaviness of history, and I find myself mesmerized by the collage of fairy tale villas. If you prefer walking, which is essential for you photography buffs, stretch your legs and take your time. That's how you'll find Wudadao's hidden gems and maybe meet a few interesting characters on the way. While I'll never be able to see the heyday of this concession, just walking around allows me to experience a part of history. The different styles of architecture reflect the various countries of the people who once inhabited these homes. And it sure was a melting pot of different cultures. This house was once the home of an affluent family, but like all the mansions in the area, it's been state property since 1949, when most of the occupants fled the country. This estate is a kindergarten today, but many others in the area are now government offices. While most tourists flock to this area to see these beautiful villas, to the kids, it's just a part of their everyday lives. With its 230 Western-style villas built in the 1920s and 1930s, I believe Wudadao deserves the reputation of being a world-building exposition. I've been told that there are 89 English-style buildings, 41 in the Italian architectural style, 6 French-style ones, 4 German, 3 Spanish, and 3 featuring a Chinese Western mix. All in all, that's quite a mix.
Hi,
My
Michelle.
name is Brian.
Yep.
Yeah. Welcome to Tianjin Museum.
Thank you.
And this is the biggest museum in
To better understand Tianjin's and even China's history, I recommend a visit to the Tianjin Museum, where you'll get a more accurate account of the city's earlier years. With Brian's help, I learned that foreign troops landed in China at Dagukou Port near Tianjin in 1860 and marched on to Beijing. Tianjin then became an open city where foreigners had judicial authority.
Here you can see the industrial civilization in the history of Tianjin. And this is the steam hammer. It's introduced from Britain.
Oh, 1882. Wow.
Influenced by Chinese and Western politics and the convergence and contradictions of culture, Tianjin learned to accommodate the old and new and flourished as a busy, multicultural industrial city. Many Chinese entrepreneurs started private industrial companies here. Brian also tells me Chinese culture in Tianjin has not been watered down as a result of the foreign influences. Instead, the city has become a stronghold of many traditional forms of art. and Tianjin still maintains a rich heritage of traditional performing arts. Tianjin's history is a crust of colonial influences and deep-rooted Chinese tradition. Just knowing that it's a port city is one thing. What's really important is getting a sense of what it was like back in the past. I don't think that you really see a city till you've learned a little about its history. Many historical dramas were staged here at the Astor Hotel. From the blue-blooded to the many VIPs who played a part in changing the face of China, numerous famous people have passed through these very doors of the oldest and most famous hotel in the heart of the city. The old wood-paneled floor, the vintage clocks, stairways, and elevator at the Astor set the tone of what I know is going to be an unrivaled hotel experience.
Housekeeping. 来，阿尔小姐，欢迎，这是我们的那个总统套房，来，里面请。谢谢。现在您看到是主人的那个书房啊。
Before I settle into my room, the hotel kindly offered to give me a tour of one of their more exclusive rooms, perhaps to tempt me into a more luxurious option. It's the room that was reserved for Dr. Sun Yat-sen, the founder of the Republic of China, whenever he visited the city. Oh, wow. It says here that this was the original meeting table that Dr. Sun Yat-sen would use whenever he stayed in this suite. Can you imagine? Beautiful.
来，继续请，这边是那个主人那个卧室啊。Please.
Thank you.
啊，非常大吧
Yeah, it is really big. So how much would a room like this cost?
啊，这 at least 5,000 include breakfast.
5,000 including breakfast. So can I get a discount?
Yeah.
Yeah? Okay, I'll hold you on that. While the elevator shakes and creaks up and down its vertical route, I think of the many people who have graced the halls of the hotel, and in particular, a frequent visitor whose footsteps literally brought forth the sound of music. The Grand Master of Peking Opera, Mei Lanfang, he used to spend a lot of time in Tianjin around the 1920s, and the locals really respected him. In fact, to this day, they remember him fondly. In the old wing of the hotel, the rooms reflect the personality of the guests that once occupied them. Mei Lanfang's room personifies the old Peking opera master's creative energy. It's not cheap to stay in the rooms once occupied by Dr. Sun Yat-sen, Mei Lanfang, or any other celebrity. But if you're a fan, the experience outweighs the cost. It's one thing to be given a sense of history, but quite another to experience it. To walk the halls with their step-worn, creaking floorboards and smell the muskiness of walls filled with secrets from the past. Much of the old furnishings, antiques, and memorabilia presented by guests such as Puyi, the last emperor of China, have remained within the hotel premises.
Boy, do I have to surprise you. It's lunchtime, and I'm starving. I'm going to take you to one of the best balanced places in all of China. Go, Billy. Ask anyone. They'll know about it. Let's go. Come on.
I couldn't possibly come to Tianjin without trying a Gobuli baozi. Some of the locals have invited me to a baozi feast, and they insist that I try every variety, watching with hawk eyes as I eat one after another of the famous steamed buns. Although I can't say I have any cause for complaint. They were divine.
Gobuli was opened in 1858.
This steam bun chain was opened in 1858 in Wuxing County on the outskirts of Tianjin. by a man called Gozi. His shop soon grew popular, and he became too busy to serve his customers properly. And his disgruntled customers nicknamed the shop Gobuli, which literally means Gozi doesn't respond.
How do you like it?
It's really good. What meat is inside?
It's pork.
Okay.
Pork.
That's really good.
Tianjin is amazing, not just for its food, but also for the blend of foreign and local. Being in Tianjin feels like I'm hopping back and forth between local scenery and a European landscape. But as Brian told me before, many traditional Chinese arts have been preserved in Tianjin to this day, and I'm about to see one of the favorites.
咱们天津是戏曲曲艺之乡，天津人爱听相声，其实全国观众都爱听天津人说相声。
I've heard the locals say that Tianjin people are known for their fondness for xiangsheng, the comic crosstalk, ballad singing, and folk operas.
今天呢，想对张老师请教一个问题。什么问题呀？我想问问您呐，为什么天津人说话特别哏儿？这叫什么问题呀？定刀害，真假不辨，灾祸生的死期期间多留意，路虎战士不止一个白骨精啊！打板就唱，打板起唱。 说的是有一个酒迷爱喝酒，他是天天酒壶不离手，他的爱人天天把他劝酒迷就不要再喝酒。这个酒迷说：“哎，别提了，我只要听见有人说酒字就勾起我。”
Xiangsheng combines banter between the performing partners telling humorous stories. I don't fully understand it, but from watching, I get a feel of this traditional form of entertainment that's least tainted by modern commercialization. Around me, people are sipping cups of tea while listening to Xiangsheng. As for me, I'm staring embarrassingly wide-eyed, intrigued by the special stage arrangement and the total concentration of the audience. Now, I've gotten special permission to visit a place that most tourists won't see, so I thought I'd take you along for a quick look.
So amazing, these places. So many of these historical buildings in Tianjin used to be residences, but they've now been turned into banks and tourist sites. But some of them are definitely less accessible, like this one, for example. It used to be Prince Qing's mansion, but it's now being turned into the Office for Foreign Affairs. And not many people can come in here, so we're really, really lucky that we can. And we're on a limited time schedule, so I'm going to show you like some of the more important things in the site. Okay, so let's go. Come on.
These are the original stained glass windows that were installed when this house was built in the 1900s, and they're still in pristine condition. It's true what they say, they really don't make things like they used to.
Spectacular.
It's been a long day, but I'm determined to get a feel of Tianjin's nightlife. Tianjin has a long history of being a multicultural city, and I figured it wouldn't be too hard to find some decent European fare.
Hi, Misha.
Yeah?
This is Kissin restaurant. It was formed in 1901 by Kissin. Kissin is German people. And he was joined by another German people in 1936.
Yes. Really nice. Is this your first time here?
Yeah. It's first time.
Hello.
Thank you.
Here we are.
Hi.
This is escargot.
Really?
Escargot de Bourgogne. This is really the best meal in France.
The manager of the French portion of this restaurant told me that Kiesling established its name as a top-class restaurant in North China and was once the haunt of many dignitaries. It has changed a lot over the years, but up to this day, it keeps its original name. After China adopted its opening policy in the 1980s, foreigners returned to Tianjin, and the Kiesling grew popular once again. Although Kiesling was originally a German restaurant, it's now opened a French section under the same roof. And on tonight's menu, foie gras and escargot, two of my favorite French appetizers. Yum! Tianjin is a city famous for its historical and cultural significance in China, so much so that it's known as the birthplace of culture and arts in northern China. It's often called the cradle of operas, but traditional arts aside, contemporary art and orchestras have found a place in Tianjin too. In the day, the city is a hub of culture. At night, it comes to life, buzzing with excitement and intensity, merging the residents' contemporary lifestyle with its historical architectural setting. It's not a city that never stops, but like the Haihe River that runs through the city center, it's a city with its own rhythm, one that moves, slowing down and speeding up at its own pace. It's seen a lot of changes through the years, from being known as the home of foreign concessions to being one of the largest cities in China. It's a place that constantly evolves and yet maintains its history and cultural roots. The buildings are lit up like the backdrop for a 1920s movie. Large signboards line the streets, the ideal setting for the night owl in me. I discovered a quaint building that was built to look like an old church. In the day, it's an art gallery, but at night, it's a place for contemporary musicians to unleash their talents. And night after night, the locals come to enjoy a performance, be it jazz or a string orchestra. After the performance is over, I stay behind to watch as a student gets a private lesson from her teacher. One might think that Tianjin is similar to the nearby capital of China, Beijing, but you'll only need to visit to see the vast differences between the two cities. For tourists visiting Tianjin, I recommend exploring the nooks and corners of the city. Only then will you find places as quaint as this, and be able to experience a more modern aspect of the Tianjin lifestyle.
Well, you know what? If you're hoping for some kind of masterpiece, you're going to be pretty disappointed because I've pretty much forgotten how to play. But you know what? Being in Tianjin has really inspired me to reconnect with my love for arts and architecture, and I hope it did the same for you. But we've got to go for now, so I hope you enjoyed the trip. Thanks for watching Travelogue, and I'll see you next time. I'm Michelle Lean, reminding you to keep those bags packed.